Greetings, lovely people, and welcome to Fast Track Thoughts. Today we're going to be talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, Episode 1, so spoilers ahead for that episode. Also, I do have a bit of a cold and sore throat, so if I sound a bit off, that is why, but in any case, let's just roll that intro. So, the show actually starts in a way that I really enjoyed, which was with a recap of the prequels, specifically the events relating to Anakin and Obi-Wan. A little bit of Qui-Gon exposition was thrown in there as well, but mostly just the events that occur directly around Anakin and Obi-Wan, which was really neat. We don't see that much overall of the prequels, and it wouldn't really, if you have never seen the prequels, it wouldn't really fill you in that much. But if you're someone who maybe watched the prequels when they were new, is just a passing fan of Star Wars, happens to have Disney Plus, it's a good enough start, and I actually really enjoyed it. They do include things like, it's over Anakin, I have the high ground. Unfortunately, they don't include, hello there, but they do have a few of the quotable lines, and, I just thought that was a good start. And then the actual episode begins with a flashback to Order 66. So, we see, essentially, some younglings trying to escape their master. They're being trained at the time, and their master manages to kill off a lot of clone troopers, or whatever you want to call them, the 501st anyway. A few of the Jedi fall in the background. None of the Jedi that we see, as far as I'm aware, are existing characters. I'm sure they have names, and if I was to check the credits, I'd probably be able to find out who they were, but I don't believe that they are specific Jedi of note. They were all human as far as I could tell, so a lot of the major Jedi that we know that are human, we actually do know because they're main characters, whereas humans generally are just background Jedi. But, it ends with, as I say, the Master falling but managing to take out all the surrounding clone troopers, and these younglings run off to try and escape. And that's all we see of that. We might go back to Order 66 more. It may be trying to say that there are some younglings and some other Jedi that managed to escape the actual temple, which would be a really interesting way of looking at it, because we do know of some, obviously. We don't know many that escaped the temple, other than, really, I guess, Yoda. But we do know of Jedi like Cal Kestis that are still out there. We know of, obviously, Ahsoka, though technically not a Jedi, is still out there. Obi-Wan, obviously. So, it's completely possible we could run into a few different Jedi, and, towards ahead, obviously, but we do actually see a Jedi that also escaped Order 66, whether they were on Coruscant or not. It's never brought up, but yeah, it's really interesting to set it up with this return to Order 66, and then we get a 10 years later mark. So that's where it's set. It's set 10 years after the events of Episode 3, which, is a perfectly good time to set it. It was presumed that it was going to be very much like that, because I think it's something like 25 years between, or something like that. It might not be that much, actually, but it's somewhere between that for Episode 3 and Episode 4. It might be close to 20, actually. I can't remember off the top of my head the BBY numbers, but 10 years. It's kind of in the middle between Episode 3 and 4, so it's a good point to revisit Obi-Wan. And we're back on Tatooine, which, of course, we have the Inquisitor ship landing, which to me really looks like Kylo's command ship from the sequels. I don't know if that was on purpose or not. Obviously, a lot of the First Order ship design comes from the Empire's ship design, so it does make sense. I just thought it was interesting and worth pointing out that it just looks a lot like Kylo's ship. I'm not a huge fan of the sequels, but I enjoy when they try and make a bit of cohesion between all the different designs of ships and vehicles and weapons and stuff. The Grand Inquisitor. Okay, so I'm going to get into this right now. I'm going to just go through things as I wrote them down rather than try and put them in sort of order. The Grand Inquisitor looks weird. And obviously we've only ever seen him in, animated form in Rebels. I believe we also do see him for a small amount of time in Bad Batch. I believe he's in part of that, but not as the Inquisitor, as one of the Temple Guards. It might even be in the Clone Wars, actually, as a Temple Guard. But in any case, the Grand Inquisitor, we've only ever seen him in animation, and how they've portrayed him in live action, he is really weird, which is even stranger, because his species has already been seen in live action. They're in Episode 3. They're the monk-type creatures, that's rude, the monk species that General Grievous was hiding amongst. during episode 3. Like, it was those. And they obviously have very tall heads. They have very long skulls. So why is the Grand Inquisitor's head not long? Like, I think that's more than anything my issue with it. Like, he looks fine. He just doesn't look like his species. And I know it's because it's supposed to be live action. They can't just have a CGI head and stuff like that. Like, they want to do it practically, which is fair enough. I just feel like they failed a little bit. When it comes to the other two Inquisitors we've seen so far, so Third Sister and Fifth Brother, they look great. I actually think both of them look amazing. Fifth Brother is the only one we've actually seen before, and, you know, he looks essentially... He's not as bulky necessarily as he is in Rebels, but he looks very similar, so I have nothing wrong with that. Just working Grand Inquisitor, though, his voice is definitely just wrong. It's not... It's clearly, like, obviously, not the same as in Rebels, and it's just not right to me. I don't know. It's growing on me, and we haven't seen too much of him so far, so maybe I'll be like, oh, actually, this is a good voice for him. But it's very much not what I was expecting, and it's not really what I wanted for him. But as I say, that's all my issues with Grand Inquisitor so far. I may be able to wipe away these problems with the next few episodes, or maybe they'll get worse. But yeah, right now, the Grand Inquisitor, I have issues with him, but it's whatever. We find out that there is a Jedi in hiding in Tatooine and presumably Mos Espa. And it doesn't really lead all that where the Jedi reveals himself to save the bartender and then runs away, manages to escape. And then we find out the Third Sister is specifically after Kenobi, which is an interesting turn of events. And I don't know whether the Third Sister, she's not an Inquisitor I'm familiar with. I don't know if she has a history, like, because obviously all the Inquisitors are ex-Jedi, maybe there's a history there during, you know, the Jedi times. I don't know, maybe we'll find that out, but in any case, the First Sister is specifically after Kenobi. The Fifth Brother's like, that's pointless doing that. And then we go over to a giant sand manta that's being harvested, and Obi-Wan is working as a butcher. I'm not going to go into any more detail of that, because I don't quite get it either. But yeah, a giant sand manta. That's something that exists on Tatooine now, I guess. And yeah, we have a little dispute where one of the other butchers hasn't been paid enough, and Obi-Wan very clearly wants to do something about it, probably with a mind, like a mind trick or something, but he doesn't, and he just goes home, and he has an anti-eater camel, which I don't know what they're actually officially called, but it's from episode 1. I believe they also appear in other ones, but episode 1 is the specific one where Jar Jar reacts by going P.O. to one of them. So I just remember it from episode 1. So Obi-Wan is living in a cave. He has a little astromech eye stalk security system thing, which is kind of cute. I don't think there's actually an astromech there. But yeah, it's a thing. He has an astromech eye stalk. It's cool. A Jawa visits. It does have a name, but I didn't catch it. I didn't write it down in time. The Jawa has brought a wing for a model ship of a TC Fudjumper, are they called? The ship that Luke says he used to fly and stuff. And then we find out that the Jawas have been stealing Obi-Wan's Vaporator parts and selling them back to him. And then, just to top it all off, the Jawa just tells Obi-Wan that he stinks. Fair enough, I guess. We move on. Obi-Wan has some nightmares of the prequels, which, I mean, so does so many Star Wars fans, am I right? I actually quite like the prequels, I just, but, yeah, I don't know. Then when he wakes up from this nightmare, he tries to contact Qui-Gon. We don't actually know at this point if he's been able to communicate with Qui-Gon as a ghost or not, but presumably yes. Obviously, he was able to in the Clone Wars temporarily when he was on the Force planet, but yeah, I don't know if that's going to be a plot point within this that, like, he never was able to contact him or something, but in any case, he then travels to a mountain range to watch Luke and Lars, well, the Lars family, should I say, and Obi-Wan leaves the toy part at the door, or the entire toy. It's hard to say. They never show the full toy, so I assume it's just the wing part, but I don't really know. The Jedi that's on the run meets up with Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan basically just tells him, run. Continue running, hide your lightsaber, and just leave. Just live your life, don't get yourself into the open, that sort of thing. And then, as a surprise to me, we then go to Alderaan. Yes, that Alderaan. So, we are introduced to a young Princess Leia who, first off, pulls a prank on her mother by, like, her friend dressing up in the ceremonial outfit. Great prank, Leia. Well done. But yeah, Leia is running around in the woods, climbing trees, stuff like that, and has a little disc droid called Lola, which, as far as I'm aware, isn't a droid type we've ever seen before. It's cute. It's a little, like, let's say it's a little flying disc, like, saucer type thing. It's interesting. And they point out a few ships, including a Tri-Wing, which is something from Expanded Universe. I don't believe it's ever appeared in any, canon material, but it's an interesting ship design. And, it's cool that they've canonized it now. They've actually pointed out who uses it and stuff. It's pretty cool. And as Leia goes back with her mother to, get ready for the public event that she was supposed to be getting dressed up for, we find out that someone's been watching Leia, which is kind of creepy, but, I mean, we'll get onto that in a little bit. Obi-Wan is repeating his day, going about his Bantha butchery and stuff. And Owen finds him and gives him, throws back the model of the ship and tells Obi-Wan to stay away. Fair enough, I suppose. They have a bit of an argument. I'm not going to get into it too much. You might as well watch the episode yourself. If you haven't already, I just think it was a bit redundant, honestly. But it does set up their relationship pretty well, so it is what it is. The Inquisitors return, specifically Third Sister and Fifth Brother. And Third Sister cuts off Despondent's hand. I think that's the correct word for it. Someone was kind of arguing with the Inquisitors, so Third Sister just cuts off her hand. The Third Sister then, calls out Owen. Owen calls Jedi vermin, says that he would never keep them on his farm, which is true. And then the Third Sister threatens to kill the Lars family in its entirety. So, obviously, Aunt Beru, Uncle Owen, and Luke. So, that's not great. The Fifth Brother then just calls Third Sister off. The Fifth Brother knows where the line is on this sort of stuff. He's not trying to cause fear. But then we also find out that the First Sister legitimately has been looking for Obi-Wan for 10 years. So, since she's been in the Inquisitorius, she has been looking for... She's been looking for Obi-Wan, which is kind of obsessive. And I'm sure there's backstory and reasoning to it. But, yeah, it's interesting. We're then shown Senator Bail Organa, which is great. Great to have him back. It's the same actor that we've had for all of the appearances of Bail. And I think we see C-3PO at one point, though we don't really talk to C-3PO. We talk to a silver protocol droid instead. Leia uses manners with the droid, and her cousin kind of insults her for it. And then Leia just kind of dismantles her cousin's worldview and makes him feel small. And then she's made to apologize about. She's asked to apologize about it. She said she'd rather be digested by a Jacko beast, which is nice world building, I suppose. Digested by a Jacko beast, interesting. And Bail tells Leia about his childhood dreams of living off in the distance and chasing an animal that I didn't catch the name of. But yeah, that things change as you grow up and stuff, and you need to have a bit more perspective and all that kind of thing. Just general, just trying to hype up Leia a little bit to be a bit more mature in a way. But she's 10 at the end of the day. But yeah, then we find out that the people watching were presumably bounty hunters. It's hard to say, and they're after Leia specifically. There's a little bit of a chase, and one of the, Alderaanian guards are shot and killed, and then Leia is kidnapped. We're back on Tatooine. Obi-Wan gets a communication with his little Jedi communicator thing from Bail. Nobody just straight up refuses to help. He says he's not the same person that he used to be, which, I mean, he's not, but at the same time, it's your friend, and his daughter's just been kidnapped. But either way, Obi goes back to his schedule. The Jedi that was on the run has been hung up in the street. It's not very clear if the Jedi is still alive, hung up. He's not hung by the neck or anything, he's just tied up onto a banister. So not banister, onto a bridge or a arch or something. So it's hard to tell if he's been killed and hung up as an example, or if he's been hung up to die. It's hard to say. But yeah, Obi-Wan obviously sees that. And yeah. when he goes back to his cave, his home, the astromech alarm system is triggered, which tells Obi-Wan that there's someone in his cave, and it's Bail. Bail has travelled all the way to Tatooine just to persuade Obi-Wan. We then cut back to the ship. We've seen it a few times already, but the ship with the bounty hunters and Leia on it. Lola tries to free Leia, but is caught and destroyed by one of the bounty hunters. I'm going to call them bounty hunters until we find out what they are. Smugglers, maybe, but whatever. And Obi is convinced to actually, do the job, sort of thing. Obi-Wan digs up his and Anakin's lightsabers from the, desert, which is what he told the other Jedi to do, is bury the lightsabers, so it makes sense. And it turns out that the third sister is the one that set up the kidnapping, and the episode ends with Obi-Wan going to leave Tatooine, getting on the ship. So, that's episode 1, and honestly, a little bit slow for my taste. I like a little bit more action. I'm sure that's going to build up, though. We're going to see some fighting, especially now that Obi-Wan has his lightsaber at hand. I'm sure we're going to see some lightsaber duels and some, blaster fights and stuff. Maybe some Stormtrooper stuff. That'd be interesting. But right now, I'm quite enjoying it. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, episode 1 and 2 release at the same time, though I haven't seen episode 2 yet. I am looking forward to watching that one immediately after finishing this video. But, that's going to be it for this video. So, without further ado, it's time for me. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you're new around here, and ring that bell so you never miss an upload. Tell me what you think in the comments below of episode 1. Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Do you think it was lacking in any way? I quite liked it so far. But right now it's more that I'm seeing all these things that give me nostalgia at this point. So yeah, it might be that I end up going, nah, this is actually quite bad. But right now it's definitely better than Boba Fett. And that's all I can ask for. That's my bar with Star Wars shows right now. Is it better than Boba Fett? And it is. Is it as good as Mandalorian? Not quite, but it could get there. So, yeah, that's going to be it from me. And, Bye! It's been a long week. I feel like I could use a vacation.